Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we are unpacking this fascinating and honestly completely forgotten stack of archives.
Yeah, these are from the late 1950s, specifically volumes 37 and 38 of the Linking Ring magazine.
Right. And our mission today for this deep dive is to uncover how a group of, amateur illusionists completely mastered the art of community building.
It really is a masterclass.
But first, I really need you to forget about the $1 Million Vegas stages. Forget the dramatic stadium lighting and, forget the TV specials where some guy makes a national monument disappear.
Exactly. We are so conditioned to think of magic as this untouchable, highly polished industry.
Yeah, and today we are flipping that script. So imagine you were walking into a VFW hall in Rhode Island.
Paint the picture for us.
Okay, so it was a Friday night in 1958. The air smells like, stale coffee and floor wax. And instead of a headliner in a sleek suit, you were greeted by a 12-year-old pulling off flawless sleight of hand.
Right, and over in the corner, there's like a local plumber pulling a 12-foot pole out of a seemingly empty cardboard box.
Yes. It is chaotic, it is charming, and it's a group of people totally bound together by this shared, obsessive love of illusion.
It's just such a remarkable ecosystem. Specifically, we're looking at the International Brotherhood of Magicians, or IBM, for short, Ring 44, which was based in Providence, Rhode Island.
Looking at these old magazine issues is honestly like opening a time capsule.
It really is. It gives us this incredible look at how a grassroots local community actually sustains itself over a long period of time.
And that is exactly why we're diving into this today.
Yeah.
Because the challenges Ring 44 faced in the 1950s are the exact same challenges you face today if you are running, say, a local theater group.
Or a professional networking board.
Right, or even just a Sunday softball league. You have to figure out how to keep people coming back. And Ring 44 was constantly evolving.
You can actually track their physical movements in these magazines. Like, they start at the United Commercial Travelers Hall, then they move to Bill Baker's Little Theater.
And eventually they plant their flag at the VFW Hall on Beacon Avenue.
And we really shouldn't gloss over those venue changes. Moving buildings wasn't just about, changing their zip code. It was a direct reflection of how they were solving massive operational bottlenecks.
Which introduces us to one of the most universal threats to any organization.
Oh, yeah.
It is the thing that will slowly drain the life out of your hobby. The dreaded administrative meeting.
Right. The classic, this meeting absolutely could have been an email situation.
Exactly. But obviously, they didn't have email in 1958.
No, they did not. So magicians were showing up on a Friday night wanting to discuss, the nuances of misdirection, hidden trapdoors, performance theory.
The fun stuff.
Exactly. But instead, they were getting trapped in chairs for an hour listening to budget approvals.
Oh, brutal.
Treasury reports, committee debates. It was completely killing the morale.
I mean, if I show up to learn how to make a coin vanish and you hand me a spreadsheet, I am probably not coming back next month.
Right, you're out. So they had to fix it.
How did they do it?
They implemented this incredibly simple but highly effective structural change. The executive committee decided to basically isolate the bureaucracy. They started meeting before the regular general gathering. The leadership would sit in a back room, hash out all the tedious administrative details, argue over the finances, and just finalize the agenda.
So they effectively hacked their own agenda.
Pretty much. Then, when the general membership arrived, the committee would simply present a finalized list of recommendations for a rapid-fire vote.
By doing all the boring stuff in the dark, they cleared the runway for the main event.
Yes, they completely protected the social hour. The magazines show that by shrinking the business portion of the night, they opened up massive amounts of time for what they called the exchange of ideas and discussion of magic.
That is so smart.
And the result was immediate. Attendance steadily increased. You have to protect the core mission. If the mission is the art of magic, you cannot let Robert's Rules of Order overshadow the art.
That makes total sense. And it brings up something I found genuinely hilarious about their move to the VFW Hall on Beacon Avenue.
Oh, the parking thing.
Yes. When they secured that final venue, it wasn't because it had the most glamorous stage in Rhode Island. It was for incredibly mundane reasons.
Yeah, they finally had parking facilities and kitchen privileges.
Right. Like, we think of magicians as these ethereal beings defying the laws of physics, but the real trick to saving their club was better administrative delegation and a decent parking lot.
You can't levitate a Buick.
Right, exactly. You need a place to park it.
The logistics always matter. I mean, once you have the parking, the kitchen for coffee, and a streamlined meeting, you've solved the operational baseline.
But that just introduces a second, much harder hurdle.
Right. How do you keep the entertainment fresh month after month, year after year? If you are a local club in Providence, Rhode Island, you don't have a massive treasury to fly in global superstars to entertain your 50 local members.
Yeah, if I just watch the same guy do the exact same card trick every Friday for 5 years, the magic wears off.
Yeah.
People are going to stop showing up.
Precisely. They needed a way to inject new life and new ideas into the club, and the solution they came up with is actually incredibly modern.
Yeah, it is something digital creators do all the time today.
Yeah.
Under the guidance of a member named Ed Whitford, Ring 44 invented a pure barter talent system.
They called it the Star for a Star exchange plan.
I really want to dig into the mechanics of this because it's fascinating. They were essentially doing like 1950s podcast guest swaps.
That is the perfect analogy. This is a highly organized talent-sharing network across the Northeast. Clubs in places like Boston, specifically Ring 122, and clubs down in New Jersey formally agreed to swap their absolute top local talent.
So we're talking about their best acts, their best lectures.
Yeah, and physical media like tapes and 8mm movies.
Yeah.
But the ironclad rule of Star for a Star was that there were absolutely no fees involved.
No profit at all.
None. It was a straight one-for-one barter.
But why not just pay each other? Like, why go through the hassle of a pure barter system?
It comes down to the psychology of what we might call the currency of passion.
Okay.
The moment money changes hands, you introduce a transactional hierarchy, you become a vendor, and the club becomes a client.
Ah, I see.
But in a niche community, localized prestige and peer respect are far more valuable currencies than a $20 performance fee.
That makes a lot of sense.
Right. By removing money entirely, they removed the hierarchy. They created a true peer-to-peer network based entirely on mutual respect for the craft.
And the examples of what they traded are just amazing. Boston's Ring 122 sent a magician named C. Foster Fenner down to Providence. But he didn't just do a few parlor tricks. He brought 26 hand-painted replica lithographs of legendary magicians.
You really have to put yourself in the mindset of the 1950s for this. You couldn't just open a browser and look up a high-resolution image of a vintage 19th century magic poster.
Right, Google Images didn't exist.
Exactly. For local hobbyists in Rhode Island to see these massive hand-painted replicas, it was a rare, tangible connection to their own history.
And Fenner used them to lecture on the absolute titans of the craft, right?
Yeah.
Like Ching-Ling Su, Houdini Keller, and Robert Houdin.
Yes. He made those historical giants feel alive and present right there in that VFW hall.
And in return, Providence paid Boston back by sending movies of their Magician of the Year show.
Or they would send Ed Whitford himself up to Boston to lecture. And Whitford was highly respected for a very specific type of performance.
Non-gimmicked, close-up magic.
Yes, magic that relied entirely on pure skill, manual dexterity, and psychological misdirection rather than, trick boxes or hidden mirrors.
Let's actually unpack that for a second. We hear the word misdirection thrown around a lot, usually meaning someone just moving their hands really fast.
Yeah.
But how does that actually work mechanically? Like, what was Whitford teaching?
Well, true misdirection isn't about speed. It's about cognitive control. It is exploiting human psychological blind spots. A good close-up magician knows that the hidden eye is biologically wired to track motion,
Right.
and the brain is wired to follow the magician's gaze. So, if Whitford looks intently at his left empty hand, the entire audience will look at his left hand.
Even if the right hand is doing something else.
Exactly. It renders his right hand practically invisible, even if it's moving slowly in plain sight. He was teaching the Boston Club the psychology of attention control.
So it's literal mind control, just on a micro scale.
Yes, essentially. And this program proved that a community's greatest asset isn't its bank account. It's the expertise of its members and their willingness to freely cross-pollinate those ideas.
Okay, so you have this incredibly healthy ecosystem for the adults. They are fixing their meetings. They are swapping high-level psychological techniques across state lines.
Yeah.
But if you really want a community to survive, you can't just look laterally at your peers.
Yeah, you have to look forward.
Otherwise, your club just ages out and disappears.
Which brings us to arguably the most poignant aspect of Ring 44. They didn't view children as a nuisance.
Or just as a passive audience for birthday parties.
Right. They viewed kids as the future custodians of the craft. And C. Foster Fenner, the man who brought those lithographs, was instrumental here. He actually formed the C. Foster Fenner Junior League Magic Club.
And the talent these kids had. You read the descriptions in the magazines, and it is honestly hard to believe.
Oh, it's incredible.
You have a 13-year-old ventriloquist named Doris Rhodes performing an act called Doris and Curly.
And you have the teen club president, Edward Coningford, standing up in front of a room full of adult magicians to perform the classic East Indian rope trick.
Wait, the East Indian rope trick?
Yes. And just to give context to that, the East Indian rope trick is an incredibly ambitious piece of stagecraft.
Yeah, isn't that the one where the rope floats?
Exactly. In its classic form, it involves a piece of rope seemingly rising straight up into the air, completely rigid with no visible support, and then an assistant climbs it.
That is wild.
For a teenager to attempt a variation of that in front of seasoned illusionists takes immense courage and technical ambition.
Absolutely. But the one that really stops me in my tracks is a 12-year-old girl named Joyce Harrod.
Oh, yes.
She performed under the stage name Princess La Belle Magicienne, which is just an incredible moniker.
So good.
But her act, she didn't just do a self-working card trick. At 12 years old, she performed an entirely pantomimed routine.
She used spangled billiard balls, silks, and what they called a goodnight velvet.
Wait, what exactly is a goodnight velvet?
It was a classic closing prop in vaudeville and early stage magic. It's essentially a large, elegant piece of fabric or a banner that the magician dramatically produces or unfurls at the very end of a silent routine.
Oh, and it says goodnight on it.
Yes, emblazoned right across it. It serves as a visual punctuation mark for an act that doesn't use spoken words.
I really want to sit with this for a second. Imagine handing a 12-year-old girl a bunch of spangled billiard balls and telling her to hold a room full of adult men spellbound.
It's a tall order.
In total, absolute silence, using only her body language and sleight of hand. I mean, I can barely get my kids to sit still for dinner.
Right.
How did Fenner actually teach that level of discipline, did the magazine say?
Well, the writers of the magazine were equally impressed. They specifically noted that these smooth, silent performances were a direct testament to the immense patience and time Fenner dedicated to his protégés.
Because pantomime is so hard.
Teaching it to a child is incredibly difficult because it requires absolute physical control. You can't use patter or jokes to cover up a mistake.
Right, if you drop something, you can't just make a joke about it.
Exactly. Every micro movement of your fingers, your posture, your facial expressions, it all has to be deliberate. Fenner wasn't just teaching mechanical secrets. He was instilling profound discipline, emotional maturity, and commanding stage presence.
He was teaching them how to hold space. Yeah. That is true mentorship. You're not just teaching a hobby. You're building character. But of course, what I find so funny is the contrast here. While the Junior League is bringing this intense, silent, theatrical discipline, the adults in Ring 44 were basically letting off steam.
Oh, absolutely.
I have to imagine that if the 12-year-olds are the serious ones, the adults were probably leaning into the chaos.
The variety of the adult performances is just glorious. On one hand, you have the focus of the youth, and on the other, you have adult members performing incredibly quirky, eccentric routines.
Give me an example.
Well, a member named Steve Piazzatelli had a routine where he magically produced an apron and a pot holder from a suitcase for every single lady in the audience.
It is so hyper-specific. Out of all the things you could pull out of a magical suitcase, why an apron and a pot holder?
Who knows? But it delighted the room. And then you have Charles Harrison Sr., who was known for a pantomime clown routine using a trick called Clippo.
Okay, my mind is going straight to the annoying 1990s Microsoft paperclip. What is Clippo?
No, not quite the paperclip. Clippo is a classic, very visual paper-cutting illusion. The magician takes a long strip of paper, visibly cuts it right down the middle with scissors, but when they unfold it or pull on it, the paper is miraculously whole again.
Oh, gotcha.
It's a mechanically simple trick, but to make it entertaining, it requires massive amounts of physical comedy to sell it, which Harrison excelled at. He also performed what they called tramp comedy.
Tramp comedy, like Charlie Chaplin.
Exactly like Chaplin, or the famous clown Emmett Kelly. It's a specific vaudevillian style where the performer adopts a down-on-their-luck, ragged persona.
Okay.
It relies heavily on empathy, physical stumbling, and melancholic humor, which contrasts sharply with the slick, tuxedo-clad magician trope. Harrison was constantly entertaining the group with these characters, even showing up to play Santa Claus.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
And this sense of community spilled completely out of the VFW hall and into their personal lives.
Yes, it did.
One of the best entries in the magazine highlights a massive summer picnic held on July 20th at the summer home of member Charles A. Freites.
They didn't just have a casual backyard barbecue.
No, they put on a full, surreal variety show on the lawn. They had tramp comedy, an act called Aladdin and His Lads, and a magician named Ed Rosenthal performing with color-changing rabbits.
Just a completely magical Rhode Island summer afternoon.
It sounds idyllic.
Yeah.
But this is also where the story of Ring 44 takes a very poignant turn. Because interspersed with all these vibrant reports of summer picnics, 12-foot poles, and color-changing rabbits, you find the broken wand reports.
Yeah.
Let's pause on that. For those who aren't steeped in magic lore, what actually happens in a broken wand ceremony?
The broken wand is an incredibly solemn, deeply traditional ritual in the magic community. It's performed when a magician passes away, sometimes at the memorial service or even right over the grave. You see, a magic wand is not just a stick. It's considered the physical extension of the magician's intent and life force. During the ceremony, the wand they used in life is held up and physically snapped in half.
Wow.
The sharp sound of the wood breaking in a quiet room is visceral. It symbolizes that the magic has ended for that physical object, but it is accompanied by words affirming that the magician's memory and their true magic will live on in the community.
That is incredibly heavy. And the magazines document several of these losses for Ring 44.
They do.
They detail the passing of Frances A. Allman, who died at the age of 87, and the text notes how she was a fixture at conventions alongside her husband for years. There's also a record of a profound minute of silence observed for past international president L.A. Waterman.
The juxtaposition is striking.
It really is. I mean, 1 minute you're laughing as someone pulls an endless string of potholders out of a suitcase, and the very next minute, the room falls completely silent as you listen to a wooden wand snap in half to mourn the loss of a peer.
Yeah.
It completely strips away the illusion. It makes you realize that at the end of the day, the magic tricks were entirely secondary. The tricks were just the excuse they used to get into the same room.
Yeah.
The real substance of Ring 44 was the human connection. They were a genuine family.
If we synthesize everything we've explored from these archives today, the blueprint of Ring 44 becomes clear. They didn't build a thriving, multi-generational community by accident.
That was highly intentional.
Yes. They identified their logistical bottlenecks, those exhausting administrative meetings, and they fixed them to protect their social time.
Right.
They realized they needed fresh inspiration, so they created a completely free, cross-state bartering system, relying on the currency of passion rather than money. And most importantly, they refused to hoard their knowledge. They actively, patiently mentored 12-year-old kids to ensure the craft would outlive them.
It is a mid-century masterclass in community building that we can absolutely apply today. And that brings us directly back to you listening to this right now.
Think about your own life.
Yeah, think about the professional groups, the hobby clubs, the volunteer boards, or literally any organization you belong to. Ask yourself, are you currently bogged down in the business of the meetings?
Are you spending your Friday nights arguing over the minutes and the budget?
Or had you cleared the runway so you can actually share the magic with your community? Are you building your own star for a star network, trading on passion and mutual respect? And critically, are you taking the time to teach the next generation how to hold the room?
It raises one final provocative question from the text itself. One of the excerpts, there's a moment featuring an older, highly respected magician named Dr. Tarbell.
Okay.
During a club meeting, another magician's electric light bulb trick failed on stage. Dr. Tarbell used that awkward moment to step up and lament the state of modern magic. He complained that vintage props were made better in the old days, and he actually stood there and claimed that the days of classic magic have long gone.
The ultimate, back in my day, things were better speech. We hear it in every generation, in every single hobby.
Always. But I want you to contrast Dr. Tarbell's pessimism with the image we discussed earlier. Contrast his belief that classic magic is dead with the image of a 12-year-old girl named Princess La Belle Magicienne stepping out onto a stage in a Rhode Island VFW hall.
Holding a room full of veterans and plumbers, spellbound in total silence with nothing but her bare hands and a good night velvet.
Exactly.
It really makes you wonder, looking at that 12-year-old girl taking command of the stage, does classic magic ever really die? Or does it just change the hands that hold the wand?